The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report, man. Appreciate y'all all tuning in. Make sure you check out blackfilesnews.com/shop if you want to get some paraphernalia from the channel, you know what I mean, support the movement as we continue to support y'all. Definitely check out the other tabs on the website as well. LPay, which is an acronym for Let's Post About It, our own social media forum creator platform, allows you to share data in ways that you have never been able to do before on a prominent social media platform, as well as blackfilesnews.com/opportunities for all our business goers that want to collaborate and tap into our market. Now, 163,000 infections yesterday in the United States due to COVID-19. That is a record, the highest daily toll throughout the entire pandemic. 1,200 deaths due to COVID-19 throughout the United States in the last 24 hours. Public health officials are warning that we're seeing a resurgence. This is actually the virus increasing exponentially, apparently. It seems like you have states like California. They actually joined Texas in becoming the second state in the United States with more than 1 million infections. You have in Chicago, Illinois, Mayor Lori Lightfoot actually put a 30-day ban on gatherings, and actually had a cap on 10 people for any local closed-door gatherings, but a 30-day ban on shutting down the city. And then also in Pennsylvania, prison officials are warning of like a full-blown resurgence of COVID-19. So far, 17 people have actually died in prison due to COVID-19. 6 of them since mid-October. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So while you have hospitals across the U.S. being pushed to capacity due to COVID-19, 30-day stay-at-home orders in like Chicago by Mayor Lori Lightfoot and whatnot, you have Michael Osterholm, who's actually the top coronavirus advisor on President-elect Joe Biden's coronavirus team. Michael Osterholm actually proposed that Congress come up with a package that could actually pay American people for 4 to 6 weeks, because he's basically saying that with 4 to 6 weeks of a lockdown, mask wearing, staying the fuck in the house, that we could actually bring this virus to basically flatten out the curve, and then we could that could actually have us cruising into vaccine availability in the first and second quarter or whatever, of which I'm not taking, and I would recommend that nobody else take unless you actually have coronavirus and have symptoms. Then I guess you gotta do what you gotta do, but the rest of the 99.9% of y'all, whatever, don't take that shit. Nevertheless, this is actually a stark contrast to what's happening with Trump's team, where you have people still catching COVID-19, the latest being Corey Lewandowski, who's actually one of Trump's top advisors, who actually caught it at the super spreader event in the East Room on election night in the White House, where a bunch of people actually contracted COVID-19, with Lewandowski being the latest one. You have also Richard Walters, who's actually the chief of staff of the Republican National Committee, who's actually contracted COVID-19 as well. Even though he wasn't at the super spreader event, he's definitely now a super spreader. You know what I'm saying? Probably was a victim of being around some super spreaders since that Republican thing. That just seems to be our thing right now, especially our Trump supporters. Furthermore, you have Don Young, who's actually Congress's oldest member. This is an Alaska Congress member, 87 years old, who he's contracted COVID-19 recently. And then Ashley Henson, Iowa Republican Congress elect, 37-year-old shorty, who actually has contracted COVID-19 as well. So y'all need to learn from former governor of New Jersey, and Trump's debate prep man, Chris Christie. You know what I'm saying? He even said that, he regrets not wearing a mask and not encouraging other people to wear a mask, but he's doing so now. Y'all need to follow in his footsteps, man. Hey, he caught a bad one. And if Trump was wise, he would do the same, unless he was bluffing. You know what I mean? But the truth will come to light. Green Wall and Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. You know what I mean? I'm masked up out here, so pardon me if that's contorting my diction a little bit, but I'm sure y'all can hear me and y'all can definitely feel me. Trump is still refusing to concede to the results of the November 3rd election, which says that motherfucker, you lost. Nevertheless, Trump even had put out this, started tweeting about this conspiracy theory, a wild one, having to do with like other countries or whatnot, about the election the election machine company, Dominion voting system or whatever, and said that they had actually switched hundreds of thousands of votes from Trump to Biden. But despite any evidence or basis for this claim, this is the idea that there's been no election fraud has been joined by like election officials throughout the country, politicians throughout the country on both sides of the aisle. In fact, Trump's own Department of Homeland Security actually put out a joint statement with election officials throughout the country saying that this past U.S. election was the most secure in U.S. history, and there's been no evidence of any votes being deleted or tampered with or altered or anything like that. So it seems like Trump's attempt to actually cast doubt over the election process for months, just so they could take it to the Supreme Court, and this ultra conservative Supreme Court could just turn it in his direction, has backfired. You actually made everybody tighten up, it would seem to me. Nevertheless, in the DHS, you have Trump's top cybersecurity expert, Christopher Krebs. He's actually over the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. He actually said that he expects to be fired for not backing Trump's false conspiracy theory, and that he put out a video even before the election saying how the election system is set up so that the electronic voting itself is not the single point of the election security, basically saying that there's other measures in place to make sure that the voting that's being counted on these machines is accurate. So what the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in Georgia, the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, actually has ordered the hand recount of 5 million votes for the presidential election. This is the largest such recount in U.S. history. Now, this comes after, at the same time, you have the incumbent Republican senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue calling for Raffensperger to resign, accusing him of not delivering an honest and transparent election. It seemed like they did that because their races actually led to 2 runoffs that are going to take place in January that do have the majority of Democratic power, or whether the majority of the Senate power going to the Democrats and Republicans is hanging in the balance on these 2 runoffs, and they're just accusing them of voter fraud and all of that or whatever. But you have the Georgia voting system implementation manager Gabriel Sterling dismissing these claims and Trump's claims of their votes being flipped for Biden. He was actually saying that anybody who's suggesting that there's some supercomputer by the CIA that's actually flipping votes is speaking they're speaking nonsense. We'll see how this turns out, because in the past, I wouldn't have thought that was nonsense at all. But maybe that taking place now today, with everybody being on guard after Trump went on for months saying that the election system was going to be rigged. Maybe that's not the case. We'll see how this turns out, though. Green Wall and graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Trump went on this little Twitter rant, basically coming at Fox News, blasting them and saying, urging his followers to basically switch to OANN, One America News Network, and the website Newsmax. Now, both funny style websites to me, definitely Newsmax and OANN, even though they run their site and their media outlet as a traditional news media outlet, the motherfuckers on there be lying, you know what I'm saying, straight up, you know what I'm saying. But nevertheless, he's doing that as and apparently this seems like it's retaliation, because Fox News, him coming at Fox News is odd, because they've been the only people that have in mainstream media that have supported him outright, blatantly, even with lies. Nevertheless, Fox News was the first news outlet to declare that Joe Biden had actually won in Arizona. So people are looking at this as a retaliation. And Axios is reporting that Trump is actually going to form his own digital media network, where he's going to use all of his crazy database of emails and contacts, and actually give them appeals to sign up for a monthly subscription for his own news media outlet. I mean, that sounds like he'll be uniting with Steve Bannon again, maybe, because that's kind of his area, especially with what Bannon has going on right now with his own news outlet, and in working with that Chinese Chinese exile who started G News. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how this all turns out, though. Green War and graduation. For the new world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Fox News called Arizona for Joe Biden. CNN is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. So it's looked like Joe Biden's going to have that on lock. The results aren't all the way in for North Carolina and Georgia, but that gives Joe Biden 290 electoral college votes. It actually puts it in a scenario where he has 20 more electoral college votes needed to actually win the presidential election. You have 150 former national security officials that actually wrote a letter to Trump yesterday, basically saying that his refusal to concede to the election results and actually give Biden's transition team access to the federal agencies poses a serious risk to U.S. national security. Keep in mind, you even have the Pope Francis congratulating Biden on his win. Biden is actually the second Catholic president behind John F. Kennedy. So I wonder if Biden will be able to challenge the Catholic Church on this serious systemic sex assault against minors culture that they have. Can you do that as president when you have the Pope, the most powerful Catholic in the world, congratulating you and you're still a practicing Catholic yourself? That's why a lot of y'all Catholics need to remove yourselves from that religion. But I digress. Green War and graduation. For the other new world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Well, in case you left-wing motherfuckers did not think that the left wing could be as partisan as the right wing, especially as it relates to the media, keep how there was a revolving door between like Fox News and Trump's White House. Well, it seems like it's going to be the same thing with Joe Biden and MSNBC, as three MSNBC paid contributors have actually left their roles at MSNBC to actually join Joe Biden's team. You have Barbara McQuaid, a health expert who's actually going to be, legal analyst who's actually going to be on Biden's legal review team. You're going to have health expert Ezekiel Emanuel, who's actually the brother of former White House Chief of Staff and former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Ezekiel Emanuel is actually going to be a top coronavirus expert on Biden. Pardon me. He's going to be on Biden's top coronavirus task force. And then you have actually a Richard Stengel, who's actually going to be the head of he's a political analyst for MSNBC. He's going to be the head of the U.S. Global Media, the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Now, keep in mind, Stengel actually in 2018 he had told the Council on Foreign Relations about his role as the communications expert for the U.S. State Department, where he basically said that he was joked on for being the chief propagandist job, but he also went on to say that he's not against propaganda. Every country has to do it for their population or whatever, and it's not necessarily an awful thing. So that already lets you know what type of time he coming on or whatever. And then you have John Meacham, historian for MSNBC, that actually had to step down from his role at NBC after it was revealed that he helped Biden write his victory speech. So it's a revolving door with those between the Democratic Party and MSNBC apparently as well. See how this turns out, though. Green War and graduation. Report of the new world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you have Cecilia Munoz, who used to be President Obama's top immigration advisor. She's actually been tapped on by Joe Biden to actually join his immigration team. Now, Cecilia Munoz often had to defend the Obama administration's tough immigration policies, certain policies that people want to say started with Trump or whatever. It did not, including deporting thousands of migrant children back to Central America and killing an executive order that actually would have stopped all of that. Now keep in mind that this was actually there was an interview with PBS's Maria Hinojosa that Munoz did, where she was basically saying, if you have a system where we have 10 million, 11 million people living and working in the U.S. illegally, some things like this are going to happen. You're going to have children separated from their parents. And you don't have to like it, but it's a result of like a system of broken laws. And if you want to change that, the answer to that is to fix the law. Obama being the deporter in chief must have been their answer, and I would actually urge people to brace themselves, because a Biden presidency is most likely not going to change that, and this is proof. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Libya, you actually have at least 74 refugees that actually died in a shipwreck. Among those dead was a 6-month-old baby who actually died hours after being rescued from the shipwreck. Nevertheless, that brings the total number of people who were said to have died in 2020 while leaving the Middle East of Africa trying to reach European soil to 575. That is 575 people who have lost their lives in the Mediterranean Sea trying to leave Middle East and Africa and get to Europe. And it's actually the 8th shipwreck that's actually happened since early October. So it's a lot of activity, and it's a effed up situation. People believe these death numbers are going to be a lot higher, but it just shows, even with these deaths, people are still getting on these ships trying to get to Europe, man. It just shows how desperate some of these situations are. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So over in Ethiopia, Amnesty International is actually saying that hundreds of people were likely either stabbed or hacked to death on Monday night. That these killings, mean hundreds of people got killed in that manner, where it's not known who did the mass killings, but there are 3 survivors of these killings that actually told Amnesty International that it was the Tigray Special Police Force and Tigray People's Liberation Front. Now, mind you, the federal government has already unleashed troops on the local government in Tigray after local government forces that actually seized these military bases that were in Tigray. Now, African officials all over calling for a ceasefire there, even with all of that going on. But the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, this is a Nobel Peace Prize winner for them actually making peace with Eritrea and all of that. He actually said that the Tigray, Western Tigray, has actually been liberated, but you have the United Nations that they're warning of a humanitarian crisis, because you have tens of thousands of people that actually fleeing the scene, where it's all our war going on seemingly. And mind you, I told y'all the other day on how Tigray actually launched attacks against Eritrea, so it could even get ugly on that front internationally before it even gets resolved nationally. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. Now, this morning, actually Friday morning, they actually had the Moroccan military, the military of Morocco went over in Africa. They actually went into a no-go buffer zone in Western Sahara to actually break up Sahrawi civilians' blockade, and in doing so, they actually exchanged fire with the Polisario Front, which is actually a Sahrawi military liberation movement, essentially. And I won't call it a military movement, because they often are acting in peaceful protest, but they actually have vowed to take up arms after this invasion into the no buffer zone and the exchange of fire. The exchange of fire actually ends a ceasefire that was brokered by the United Nations in 1991. So nearly 3 decades of a ceasefire was just broken from this action. Mind you, Sahrawi civilians had actually set up a blockade in a part of the Western Sahara that was being occupied by Morocco that the Sahrawis see as illegal. And so this peaceful blockade actually backed up traffic for miles, and it cut off Morocco's ability to actually trade with southern African countries. So this was this whole action has actually provoked the Sahrawi movement to actually take up arms, and in doing so, I mean, it looks like things could possibly escalate. I mean, it hasn't gotten violent ever since. Mind you, the decolonization of Western Sahara is actually pending ever since 1975, when the Moroccan military actually came into the area, and basically they came in as the Spain This Spanish were the initial colonial powers actually withdrew themselves. So we'll see how this all turns out. Green Wall and graduation. What out in the world, though? The Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So I told y'all about the conflict that was going on between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh area in the Caucasus Mountains. You know, where they say white people came from, right? This conflict has actually led to what people are saying is an all-out war in trading fire between drones, militia, and all of that. Well, you actually have Armenia that's actually signing, the Prime Minister of Armenia signing a deal to a peace agreement to end the conflict, essentially. But Armenians are actually in the streets protesting. These protests erupted yesterday as soon as the PM actually signed the agreement or whatever, because they feel like the agreement does not reflect the will of the people, and it's basically a concession towards a war, essentially, basically saying you lost the war. Now you have Azerbaijan, who was said by a group called Genocide Watch that they've shown several early signs of a genocide with how they've been, executed by Azerbaijan, where so far 1,000 people have actually been killed in the conflict, though people think that the number is much higher, and 100,000 people have been displaced. Green Wall and graduation. What out in the world, though? The Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the Peruvian political arena is actually being turned on its head, where you have President Martin Vizcarra actually having resigned from his position. He was actually kicked out of what a lot of protesters are calling a legislative coup, basically, because he came out after being charged with corruption, even though he denies this. Now, mind you, you have advocacy groups of these protesters that are calling out the police's use of tear gas and their crackdown on these protests that have erupted ever since Vizcarra actually came out of his position. Now, he was charged with corruption. And he had a separate charge that he was actually dealing with as well. But nevertheless, while he was at the presidency, he actually pushed through several anti-corruption initiatives that actually led to charges being brought up against congressional members. So this all could be a political ploy, could possibly even be a legislative coup, where you have and even Manuel Merino has actually been tapped to actually replace Vizcarra up until they have the presidential elections in April. Manuel Merino, he's actually